Welcome to Tallahassee Startup Grind. We're really excited to have you here with us tonight. This event is about sharing the war stories of those who have gone before us and really engaging the entrepreneur community here in Tallahassee. It's an opportunity for us to get together, learn from those who have gone before us, and really understand how we can work collaboratively together to help improve our ecosystem and those around us. Startup Grind is focused on three key things. They believe in making friends, not contacts. They believe in giving and not taking. And they believe in helping others before helping yourself. And so as we go through tonight's talk, we want to encourage you to ask questions either in person as well as online. This is your opportunity to ask those burning questions that are in your mind, get them out and share them with our community. Gregg, Patterson, our speaker tonight, will be sharing his experiences. Then we'll get right into it. Gregg, can you share with us a little bit about who you are and the journey, the incredible journey that you've been on?
It has been an incredible journey. I graduated from FSU with a degree in accounting. Wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. Spent a lot of time in the corporate world, planes, trains, and automobiles, serving as a CFO, COO, and CEO. And then once when I came home, I was traveling so much. You know, when you come home and your own dog barks at you, you've been traveling too much. So I went out on my own and started working with entrepreneurs and businesses of all sizes, and it's been a great experience. It's been about 40 or 50 years of it.
Wonderful. Well, as you look back in those last 40 years, can you share some of those great moments that you had? What really inspired you throughout the years to stay in the field that you've been in?
Well, the field that I'm in, at first I resisted. I had a degree in accounting, so I'm not going to be an accountant. But I found, and being out in the business world and seeing people that are starting new businesses, it can be really complicated. So I found sharing with entrepreneurs and helping them succeed is really a passion of mine. And I found you got to find balance. And when my wife made me walk the 500-mile Camino, I learned to have a little bit of balance with that. So we'll share a little bit of that today. There's some hard skills we can share with you, what you need to do when you're running a business, and what some of the soft skills and helping you navigate through this crazy world that we have right now.
Well, tell us a little bit about those obstacles that you had to face or that you saw entrepreneurs facing, and how did you help them overcome them?
I found that people can come up with the best idea, come up with the best widget or best idea for a nonprofit, but then when you take that step, it becomes very complicated. You got to know accounting, you got to know marketing, you got to know HR, you got to know IT, and it can be overwhelming. And I found that if we can bring all those resources together and help people guide and walk through that, then we're successful. In my business, we help people with back office, and we measure our success by the success of our clients. But today I'm here to share, I'm not here to sell you my business.
Well, dive into that a little bit. What are some of the things that you would recommend entrepreneurs looking for to avoid? How can they get set up stronger first rather than running into it head on?
A couple of things I was sharing a little bit earlier with the people in the audience. If you're thinking about a business, it's good to start off with saying, what do I love to do? What do I hate to do? And then looking around, what is there a gap of something that I can use my skill set to provide to people? So if you think through that, and it's always good to start off with a business plan, even if it's the back of an envelope. You want to start thinking through. Like you talk about clothing or rentals. Think through a business plan. You want to think about who, what, when, where, and how. And we have this that we'll share with you. It really helps if you sit down and start thinking through. And sometimes you can forward think some of the obstacles you may come up with when you're trying to think how or when, or who's my competition? How am I going to be a niche? How am I going to differentiate myself from everyone else? So that is a step to do this. We've got a list we'll share with you, 10 steps. You can start a business, everything from choose your name to register your business. You need employer ID. You want a separate bank account. There's a list of things that can help keep you out of trouble. So, you're not expected to know that. You come up with a great idea. And the other thing I've found is surround yourself with people smarter than you. For me, that was pretty easy. But you don't know everything about everything. So if you don't understand, I was talking to someone with accounting, trying to figure out accounting. If you don't know accounting, find someone that does. Look online, hire a bookkeeper. Same thing with it be with marketing. You get into, do I need to have insurance? What kind of insurance do I have? You get into, when you start having employees, the number one thing I tell people is don't get into the payroll business. You can outsource your payroll for very little money. If you try to do your own payroll, you've got to write checks, you got to do tax forms, you got to do withholding. It gets very complicated. So that's one tip. You want to be able to focus on what your mission is and surround yourself with smart people.
Absolutely. Well, as we look at your back history, you came out of college, you went on a walkabout, traveled the world,
Yes.
and then you started your company. How long before you felt like you'd reached success?
I don't know if you ever get there.
I think that's part of the story, right? You're always working towards the next goal.
Yes, and I was just listening to, I was at a company annual meeting, and we had a SEAL talk with us. And a good lesson that came from that is set a big, huge goal, but then don't get caught up in that goal. And he was talking about when he was in the SEALs, 80% of the people drop out. And he found out it wasn't because it was so difficult. They would look at, oh, I've got another 100 days to go. And he said how he got through it, they have to feed us every 6 hours. So I just want to make it to the next meal. So set that big bodacious goal, and then, look on each baby step. And again, surround yourself with smart people. I mean, Domi is a good place to interact and network with people. There's a lot of good information out there, and don't get lost. Ask questions, because I know from being in business, it's a lot easier to know the right answer than to know the wrong answer and go down that rabbit path, and we've done that before too. You learn what doesn't work. And also, don't be afraid to fail. You just got to, sometimes you got to go for it, but be smart in how you're approaching your business. Like I said, think about it. Is this what I love doing? Is it, what are my weaknesses? Do the who, what, when, where, and how. And when you're doing that, it helps you think through that and do a little budget of a cash flow, because cash is king. It's the blood of your business. And so if you take an Excel spreadsheet, go here's my revenues month by month going out the year. Here's what my expenses I think will be, and be low with your revenues and high with your expenses, and that will help you start thinking through what sort of cash do I have. And it's a lot easier if you know 2 weeks from payroll or when the bill's due that you don't have the cash. Then I've had people call me and go, payroll's due today, I don't have any money. Give yourself a little bit of time. It's trying to be smart and proactive with your business. And I always say, outsource. Outsource could be having a mentor. It could be hiring someone. It could be hiring a bookkeeper or whatever it may be. But when you do that business plan, again, think through all the logistics of how you're going to succeed.
Wonderful. As we look at your history, you have started several nonprofits or been a part of starting several nonprofits. What made you confident in your business to be able to do those extracurricular activities like launching another nonprofit or launching a nonprofit in the community?
And sometimes you get thrown into one in the middle of it. We've got a nonprofit called Choose Tallahassee, and I think you've got to jump in with the same things we're just talking about, Robert. Yes, start thinking about who, what, when, where, and how, and surrounding yourself with good people. When we did that with Choose Tallahassee, our first year, the New York Times did a story on us. I was like, holy cow! We were in front of 56 million readers, and it's kind of like buckle your seatbelt. But it all came from, it wasn't all from me. It was surrounding myself with all these smart people, good good marketing people, good advisors that made all the difference in the world.
And you said you got thrown into it. Where did you feel about IMS business? Did you feel it was in a good place to do that, or did you just have to roll with the punches?
It's kind of an outlier for my business. My company, we do back office, we do the accounting, the bill pay, and we try to bring more resources to people. So if you're a client of ours, we have an executive roundtable where you can kick around ideas. Or, we want to be able, when we don't charge to get a cut for this, we look for referrals. Who's good with insurance? Who's good with HR? Who's a good attorney? It's helping everyone succeed. And that's what I found in starting IMS. I started as a one-person show. Another thing I learned is as you grow and you have employees, when my wife and I walked across Spain 500 miles, and it was her idea, point that out. When you're a one-man show, when you're not there, you're not getting paid. But when you've got a team, if you take time off, you can still have some revenue flowing. But think big, think smart. And you want to have the soft skills. You need to think, is this something I really want to do? Is this something that really makes good sense? And always have integrity in everything you do, because that will follow you around. In Rotary, they have a 4-way test. Of all the things you think, say, and do, you ask yourself, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And it will be beneficial to all concerned. I can promise you, if you learn those and you practice that, you won't ever have to be having to cover your tracks. And it makes a big difference in business if people know that they can count on whatever you say.
Absolutely. Well, talk a little bit about, if you could go back and start over, what would you have done sooner?
Probably going back, what would I have done sooner? One thing, when I was flying trains and automobiles, I wish I would spend more time with my kids when they were younger. Because you always want to find that balance. Dive into your business, make it happen. But I just went and saw something, I think, as Chris Gardner just spoke at Ruby Diamond, and he talked about we can accumulate cash, we can accumulate assets, but we can't accumulate any more time. So you just want to think about that in whatever you may do. And would I do anything different? I don't know. It's been a pretty good ride. I mean, I've got a great family, great kids, great grandchildren, business. And knocking wood is good, but my business is successful because of my team. And many years ago, I went to a talk with Southwest Airlines, and they said, we treat our employees as number one. First you scratch your head, why would you do your employees number one? That's because they treat customers as number one, because they're treated so well. And then the profits take care of themselves. And I tried that in my business, and we give them the best health insurance, dental, disability. At first you go, oh, that's going to cost me a lot of money. But it makes a difference in the quality of the people. Also, in this day of trying to hire people, you always want to be an employer of choice. And it's easy to do. There's too many other people out there that don't treat their employees as number one. So that's something I highly recommend.
Well, you mentioned time, you mentioned family, and entrepreneurs a lot of times have to give up a lot of extracurricular activities, sometimes family and friends. How did you learn to balance that and get to where you were today?
Probably the school of hard knocks. I think I could have done a better job with my kids if I wasn't gone all the time. But I have no regrets. One thing you find, once you're in business, you'll have the best boss you've ever worked for. You will. And it gives you flexibility in what you do, and it gives you flexibility to have time with your family, with our employees, and with our team. Life happens. I mean, some need to take kids to the doctor, or someone gets sick. So you got to have that. You want to provide that to whoever's on your team, and that could be employees always people that are part of your team, part of your entrepreneur, even if they're not being paid, is treat them as number one. And they will always treat you as number one.
Absolutely. As you look to the future, what things do you see in the future of your business and in Tallahassee?
The biggest challenge in my business right now is finding enough talented help. I mean, right now you see the help signs are everywhere. I believe we have found a niche in my business, and we've had to stop our marketing. And being an entrepreneur, you go, what do you mean, no new business? But we're now shifting that. But that's been a big challenge. I think the future is bright. I think our nation and everyone now is entrepreneurship is cool. It took 10 years ago, someone just opened a store, and there really wasn't anything to it, and there wasn't really any resources. Especially being in a college town, you have access to a lot of resources here. And don't get frustrated, go, I don't know how to do this. Ask questions, find a mentor, look on YouTube. You can't believe everything you Google, but sometimes it helps. And I believe, being part of co-working or being a place like Dummy, where you're around a lot of people. A lot of people ask me, well, why would you be at Dummy? Well, I love being around young people. I learn a lot from them. And I actually have picked up business just by being here. And I saw something someplace, don't network, be friends. Really care about people. When you talk to people, listen to them. It's amazing what you can get when you ask someone. My wife taught me this thing, as simple as when you go to a restaurant and you ask the waiter or waitress, what's your name? And it's amazing how they light up. And sometimes they'll tell you their whole story. But that applies in business. Even when you're going in to talk to a prospective customer or a prospective vendor, find a way to connect with them, because people want to do business with people that they know or they can connect with. So that is a very valuable lesson I would suggest that you incorporate in your day-to-day life. And in the email, there'll be things of the 10 steps to starting a business. It's all the things of which you should do as far as licensing and insurance. And the other thing is laugh and have fun. It's very easy to get caught up in business, and it's just, whatever room is with us, go out and have fun. My wife got me in this habit of walking across countries, and sometimes I say I work to support my walking habit, but we walked across Portugal, Scotland, part of England, Spain, and we'll do some more. And when she first forced me into doing it, I thought, I can't do that. What's a business person going to do walking across this country? But it changed my life. And it just taught me, it brought back the wonder in life. And I ended up, the newspaper asked me to blog when I left. I said, what's blogging? But we ended up doing that. And even from that, it has opened so many doors just from the writing. It's opened business doors. A lot of times you can make a lot of sales without out there trying to make the sale. It's connecting with people and have them believe in you and have them believe in the trust. And if you can follow all the steps, here's what you need to do: get your license, get your federal ID number. Those are the mechanics of a business, but don't forget the soft skills of running a business.
Talk a little bit, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were younger, what advice would you give personally and for the business to get them on a better path or a faster path?
Probably when I was younger, growing up, my brother was the golden child. He was going to be a doctor. So I exceeded expectations as a black sheep. But again, I learned a lot from that. And I've just learned from a very young age, I was always buying things, selling things. And once you get out in the business world, you can find the mechanics of how to do it. Again, I'm repeating myself, find what you love doing, decide what you hate doing, and go for it. Younger in life, I don't know, maybe I would have gone out on my own a little bit earlier. We had kids, and I thought, well, I've got to do this corporate thing. I had a time I'd be on a plane every Sunday night and go to Fort Worth, then I go to Miami, then I go to Boston, and I come back. And that just kind of wears on you. So start your own business because you will have the best boss in the world.
And when you look at where you're headed and the things that you've done, are there any things that stand out that are the solid moments that you would love to relive?
I mean, you're traveling, you always want to relive. Having a business with great employees is just very rewarding. When you have a staff meeting and you're interacting with everyone, it's really positive. It is very rewarding having a business and working for yourself. I'm lucky enough that I've got a business I'm CEO of that we think we're going to launch and then work with a nonprofit, so that kind of throws me into both worlds. And once you get the bug, it's kind of hard to get it out of you. I have another business I've been thinking about starting, and I've got this, I have a walking group, and someone other said, if you go into another business, I can take you out back and whoop you. But once you get the bug, and you have the confidence, wow, I can do this, and you get a little bit of experience under your belt, it really changes everything. And it's a great, big, beautiful world out there. The other thing I would suggest, I saw this coming over, is don't mix politics with your business. We all know this is a divided world, and it's very passionate on both sides. I'm not going to get into that. But sometimes I see some of these contractors going around town, and they've got something on their trailer that says, I'm anti-whomever, this president, past president. Well, you're running off half of your potential customers. And that's one thing I always scratch my head and go, why would you do that? You want to be politics, go be active, be a change, but just don't mix it with your business.
Well, I saw you brought some thoughts on soft skills. Did you want to cover some of those?
Well, I talked about laugh and have fun as taking care of yourself emotionally and physically. I mean, I find that if I get out and do something physically during the day, go outside and go for a walk. We've got 700 miles of greenways in Tallahassee. And, I have a walking group that I'll get a card if you want to sign up for. But the Japanese call it forest bathing, but it's just getting outside in the woods. A lot of times I'll have a business problem or an issue or something comes up and I don't know what I'm going to do. I go out and go for a walk, and it's amazing how it comes to you, just being in nature. I would highly recommend that. And just stay motivated and recognize, have you ever noticed, and I've got this too, motivation, someday you can wake up, you get everything knocked out. Some days you wake up, the end of the day, go, what did I do today? And I think all of our motivation goes like that. So it's working on the discipline. I find at night, I make a list of what I want to get done and prioritize it. I can do this in short term or long term, and that kind of keeps me on track. But give yourself a break. Sometimes you need to go outside and go for a walk. So I recommend that, and integrity. And if you treat everyone as number one, guess what? And you listen to them, everyone has a story. And I'm not just giving a motivational speech, but in business, you're talking, I meet with my employees quarterly, and I just go and listen. And everyone wants to be heard. And in today's society, too many of us are not heard. And it's not just your employees or your team members, it could be someone you're thinking about selling something to, or someone that you might need their advice. Be sincere and listen to their story. And if you do that, it'll make it a lot easier to navigate through the business world. complicated out there. You know, it's a commercial, it's not that complicated. The business is complicated. It is complicated out there. But all the solutions are there.
Well, we'll open the floor to questions shortly, but I want to give you the opportunity to have any last thoughts before we open the floor.
I am, in a place in life that even my wife can talk about for many times. The biggest pain is, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm happy with what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. She goes, go for a run. Get out of here. I'm tired of hearing this. But finding your passion and going through it, and it has its ups and downs. And you can't let the downs get you down. Just makes a huge difference. Because someone asked me, are you going to retire again? Then what would I do? I mean, I want to spend more time traveling, but yes, I saw someone interviewing Paul McCartney of the Beatles once. I said, when are you going to retire? And I said, well, this is kind of what I do. and you'll get to the point in your business that it'll be what you do, and you'll be very proud of it. And don't let the downs get you down, because they'll happen. And just keep looking at the short-term goals, like the guy in the SEALs. He would just say, we get fed every 6 hours. If I can just make it to the next 6 hours. We walked 500 miles across Spain. After the first day, walking 15 miles again, said, well, I got 485 more miles to go. You have that big goal, but do it one bite at, it's kind of the old thing, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? But it's very true. So I would share with you, surround yourself with good people, work on your people skills. Best advertising in the world is word of mouth, and someone wants to do business. To me, in my business, when someone says, so-and-so said, I should call you, that's a huge difference versus putting ads out, from calls. So develop a network. And even for some of you starting a business, start thinking about, where can I find out about manufacturing clothing? Where can I find about sourcing the clothing? Where can I find about, you got the small business, you got DOMI, you got the School of Entrepreneurs. We got a lot of tools here. And just, you want to stop, and everyone in here is bright and smart. You just got to stop and think. Who, what, when, where, and how. And that will get you to where you need to be. So right now, I wouldn't change anything. Sometimes, ache a little bit when I get up in the morning, but the life is good, and it can be good. And don't watch the news. I was going to speak someplace, and I thought I'd look on there and go, hurricane, Afghanistan, politics. I go, do I really want to start my day like this? No. There's too many good things happening out there, and that will affect your frame of mind. The talking heads want you to be upset. All these terrible things are getting ready to happen, and that's how they sell ads. So focus on the good things, and from what conversation I've had with people who are looking at business, you're trying to do good things. You're trying to serve a niche audience, and you're trying to find a place for people to stay when they travel. Be the best that you can be. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's true. And focus on the good things and integrity. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will build goodwill, better friendships. Will be beneficial to all concerned. If you think about that, everything you do, your life will be a whole lot better.
Thank you. Open the floor now to any questions.
I actually have 2 questions, but my first question is, at any point in your business, did you have to rebrand or take a pause to redirect where you wanted to go?
Yes, and I think we all have had, especially with the pandemic, a lot of us had to pivot. We weren't even planning on, and just boom. Yes, I have rebranded my company about 2 years ago. We used to be Innovative Management Services. It got to be, people say, what's your email address? We go, Gregg at INNOVA. Sometimes you have to think about it. So we changed it to IMS Business. So, but you got to be fluid in whatever you do. You got to be ready to pivot, because especially in today's environment, things change. Something could change in your industry and try to be ahead of it and you can't get so stuck in what you're doing. They used to have a lot of blockbusters where you could rent movies, and guess where they are? So the people that are still here, pivot. And you had
I did. My second question was, how far along were you in your business before you started hiring employees?
and you always got to take a little bit of a leap of faith here.
Yeah.
When I first just started going from one man to adding people, the first time I got hired, someone, God, I gotta start making that payroll. But it's amazing, when you get to the point that you've got the revenue and you're doing the Excel spreadsheet, and you're kind of looking, at my budget with a cash budget, and you kind of look when you have enough revenue to be able to pay the person. But it'll happen. If you're going to succeed, you want to end up having 500 employees someday, right? So, and again, hire a payroll company. You can, even for small businesses, there's organizations that focus on small businesses.
How long? I'm gonna ask for her. I'm sorry, the poor man has to live with me, so. Yes. She wanted to know how long that it took you to get to hiring employees. I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire.
I was a one-man show for a while,
How long?
probably 7 or 8 years.
Wow. That's good to know, just because I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we feel like I'm gonna hire somebody so immediately, it's worn out.
And when you're a one-person show,
Right.
you got to wear all those different hats, and that's okay, because it helps you learn a lot of, what am I going to do about a website? I'm going to go figure out how to do what, or find someone to do a website, or what about insurance? How am I going to, so, it's good learning to get in there. It helps me in my business because I've been exposed to a lot of it. But still, every day you learn something new.
I guess your other hat, what made you choose Tallahassee and stay here?
In Tallahassee?
What made you choose it and stay here?
In Tallahassee?
Yeah, choose Tallahassee, it's a good question.
I came here to go to school with no intentions of staying. 4 children, 4 grandchildren. It's a great place to live. We're a college town. We got 70,000 students. We've got every kind of sporting event you could ask for. We've got culture. We got Railroad Square right over here. We have Downey. And like I said earlier, our parks, we're near the beach, and we got 700 miles of trails. And if you ever want to see them, I'll give a little pitch because it's free. Everything called Move Tallahassee. And we meet twice a month, and we'll walk 3 or 4 miles out someplace. And it's something I can't even call it a nonprofit. It's a nothing. And I've had 2,100 people sign up for our meetup. That's good they don't all show up. We'll have 40 to 100 people. But Tallahassee's just got a lot of opportunities, Beach isn't too far away. Mountains aren't too far away. Mountains aren't that far.
So here's a question, back to her question. He's so happy you brought it up. Here's the question back to her question, or it adds to it. So you said it took 7 to 8 years. How long has it taken from the time you took your first employee to the time you have your 12th employee? How long has that taken?
Probably about 4 years. And right now, if we had the people, we can do as much business as we can do. But recognize as you grow, new problems. Yes, sir.
Here first. Jerry.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, how long did it take you to discover your passion, and what moment made you go for it?
I don't know if you ever get to the point where your passion can always change. I've always loved travel. That's outside passion. My parents had a big map in the house, so I always wanted to see all these places. I think working with people. I'm a people person, so. In my business, my role right now is to be out in the community, belong to the Rotary clubs and things like that. And knowing that I have a business I'm very proud of, that I'm networking, bringing people into, I'd say in the last 4 or 5 years, the passion is really skyrocketing. And I've been in some crazy startups. My first Well, it started up a couple of years ago, an insurance company, our first deposit was $53 million. And it failed. So just, sometimes a big number. But I learned from it. Did I like going through it? I mean, it wasn't my money. It was, a lot of, and I think a lot of people got their money back, but we were in the hurricane business in Florida. So we'd have these bottles that show a hurricane going here, and you go, oh, that's like 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, 30 million.
So when you first got started, did you have any clients already in hand, or did you have to go off and find them?
When I first went out on my own, when I left the corporate world, I had some connections with some CPA firms in town, but again, it's a network, and they would send me out on specific projects. So I would do that, and then from them, I'd get referrals. And right now, we have about 60 clients right now.
So,
Anywhere from $100,000 in annual revenues, we have some that have 200 million.
so when you first started, you basically were contracting for a larger firm, and then slowly
I was contracting for myself.
you're getting referrals from
Yes.
larger.
And with that, you just have to try to keep your overhead low. I had some months where I didn't make anything. I've had some months in my business when, early on, when things are not going as well as you'd like, everyone gets paid but you. But that's part of it.
So I was about to ask about that, so I guess I asked as an example, how long did you, so you hire people after 8 years or so, give or take, when do you have to start paying when do you get to start paying yourself at that point? Like, when you get to pay for yourself, how long did it take you to get to that point?
When we started payroll, I put myself on the payroll just so I could get paid when I could get paid. Sometimes my wife likes for me to get paid.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
But that's part of the business is, you're the last one. If things are tight, you gotta take care of your team. So you wanna have a little bit of a nest egg if you can have, or you can just scrimp.
You were getting paid before you hired somebody too, though, right? Because you were talking about that you had all that stuff figured out before you hired somebody else.
I was working for someone, if I was billing $2,000, I'd get $2,000, just as a contractor. But you have to remind yourself, when you get paid like that, the end of the year, you gotta pay taxes.
Yeah.
And when you're working for yourself, you're paying your own Social Security. So there's about 15% just goes for Social Security and Medicare plus withholding. I've had a couple of years when you do my taxes and you go, oh, $15,000, oh my God. But you learn, then you start making deposits. And, yes. Someone knows. Yes.
My question is, like, if your trigger is like the fear of failure, then is it good to start or diversify your business or focus on something else?
I couldn't.
Something about the fear of failure.
Yeah. So if suppose there is a product management and something I can do, like you did for CPA contracting. So I have products which I'm developing, and my trigger always is like the fear of failure. So that it will be successful or not. Then,
You can go the safe route, or you can go the risky route, and you're afraid of failing.
so how you're managing that trigger?
You want to try to be strategic. I wish there was just, if I could answer that, I could just retire. So I think I'm gonna work on that tonight. I mean, it's a risk. I mean, anytime in business, and there's ways of funding yourself. You can do bootstrap, which is called, you're using your own money, your own savings. I like that. And sometimes you can borrow from family, which can, be risky. You don't want to ruin your relationships. And in these days, you can borrow money from people, but I like when you're starting a business to have as little overhead, a little debt as possible. Even in my company now, we have all these clients, but we don't have a big office. I don't need the overhead. I mean, a lot of times we're on site, have a small office here and one on the other side of town. And you drive that overhead down, And because you're gonna have these ups and downs, and a lot of times, how many of you want to do this to make a profit? So you keep that overhead down, and there's a lot of ways you can do that, like, bidding out your insurance every couple of years. But to answer your question, do your who, what, when, where, and how, and be strategic. Don't be afraid to fail. Try to bootstrap if you can, and do it in small steps. Like you're talking with clothing, start with a couple different items. See how that goes. Don't come out and say, I'm going to borrow $1 million and try to compete with Amazon or whoever.
He's not a shopper.
What I'm hearing is don't overextend yourself. Understand the risks you're willing to take when you're going after a venture or doing something, and minimize costs while you're doing it as best you can to give you the most opportunity for success.
Because I especially asked that because I was stuck in that, like, if my product is successful, I make a lot of money. But I see there is a money on the other end which I can survive, So should I shift the focus? That is the question, exact question,
Well, and this is a saying I like. A lot of entrepreneurs work their 9 to 5 to pay for their 5 to 9 insurance.
Yeah.
Don't quit your day job until your side job pays enough to quit your day job.
That's very good advice. Again, keep that overhead down and don't go in debt if you can avoid. Because that gives you a lot more. Yes, ma'am.
That goes along with my question too, is because you're saying figure out what it is that you love doing. Because I'm a creative person, obviously, my background, but so there's things that I love doing, but it might not be super profitable. And then there's the profitable direction, with doing things that meet clients' demands, but takes up a lot of time. And so how do you find that balance?
Sometimes just get with a few people and just brainstorm on what you love doing. Is there a way you can approach that where you can make money? What are the gaps that aren't being filled in the marketplace? And it really helps me to bounce ideas off people. So it's free. You get some people who come meet here at Downey and say, I really like doing, and I'm making this up, websites. And how can I make that profitable? You'd be amazed. I hear stuff from people all the time. I don't know it all. So do that. I guarantee there's a pony in there.
Yeah.
So earlier you said about laughter and fun. How does that equal profitability as far as maybe mixing up the fun with the profit? Is there a way to kind of find more science for that, or what's the logic?
I think what that does, it gives you the balance so you're a clear mind when you're working on your business. Because it's easy. If you ever been, we've all had this where you're working on a problem and you can't find a solution. And you walk away, and then you come back, and there it is right in front of you. So finding that life balance gives you a clear mind when you're going into doing what you do.
5 minutes, Gregg.
Okay.
5 minutes is how much they've done the studies. You need a 5-minute break to recharge your work ethic, your capacity for productivity. It's the small breaks that make a big impact.
And going for a walk is very important. You just go outside, even if you're in a neighborhood or in a city, just go out and turn it off. And when you come back, you have 5 minutes or whatever, it'll make a big difference.
I have a question. When you're deciding on making your first hire or your 12th hire, and was there something that you were looking for in that person that you're hiring, or a process that you went through when hiring that person?
Well, mine was kind of easy. I had a daughter that graduated with a degree in accounting. That made it. But the thing you want to do is when you're hiring somebody is there's a book, Dare to Be, I wouldn't Dare to Be Great, but putting the right people in the right seats on the bus. So it's
Good to great.
good to great. That's why I started to say Dare to Be Great, but good.
Close.
Close.
You had one of them.
But it's really important to have not the right people on the bus, but the right people in the right seat on the bus, so to speak. Can you see the analogy I'm talking about? So So if you're in a, you know, if you're building widgets and you really need help, you know, designing that widget or building that widget, well, you need to look at that first. Some other things you can outsource, and that's a niche I have with my business. If someone needs a bookkeeper, accountant, or whatever, they can hire them for 5 hours a month or 10 hours a month. And you can do that with a lot of, with different areas of business is, you know, outsource. You know, if you need to hire someone full-time, yes, but when you, in the meantime, pick up someone 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. Especially in a college town, you can find people that are willing to intern and learn about the business. Does that answer the question?
It does, thank you.
Okay.
So, a follow-up to that is, if your daughter had not been in accounting, do you think you would have hired a different skill set as your first employee?
That's a good question. She came to me and it was right in front of me. She said, why don't we use your network? Because I've been here for a long time and I'll put together all the work. And, you know, if I didn't have to be the one doing the debits and credits, and I could just go out to network, that sounds like a winning plan to me. And it's just gone crazy. But
I'm gonna stick in, that's where he found his passion. It wasn't the numbers. So he found the people to do the part he doesn't like, which is the numbers. And he goes and brings all those people in, which the networking, the being with people, that's what he loves. So that's why those two things mixed.
So I'm hearing that you prefer sales versus actually accounting.
I prefer people. I love people. And talking about the passion, what I had to overcome is, I kind of grew up in a place, kind of macho is a bad word, but I got out of high school and I was a steel worker walking around. This is a good thing. Then I went out and worked on the oil rigs in the middle of the Gulf and saw how dangerous that was. And then I came back, got a degree in accounting. I got to have a pocket protector and a little visor. And once I got past all that, having my own business and having people that know how to do it, it's really a lot better than I thought it'd be. Because we do more than just accounting, we're partner with people.
How do you manage both, I guess, with the business and the Choose Tallahassee? Did it ever mix up, or how do you manage to mesh these at times?
Because I mean, I've got Choose Tallahassee, I have the Move Tallahassee, and I write for the paper. And I have a family that needs to come first. My wife is always going, hello. But it just, you know, like I said, sometimes at night I go upstairs and I just quiet time. Here's what's highest priority, and here's what I'd like to accomplish. And I go through my day, and then you're fluid. If something comes up, you add something else to it.
What strategies have you discovered as a result of the downs you've experienced in your business?
What strategies have I discovered because of downtime in the business?
No, businesses have ups and downs.
Yes.
What do you do? What strategies have you developed during those downs?
Well, you try to, you know, in our business, you try to build up that level of reoccurring business. You know, people that, reoccurring revenue, whatever you can get into, where people have subscriptions or memberships, that's the best thing in the world, because over time you just build this reoccurring revenue that builds and builds. But we have some clients we charge by the hour. We have some we've been with for 15 years. We charge a set amount a month. So that kind of helps with some of the ups and downs, because we all went through March of 2020, everything just went boom. But that's the time when you pivot. And if you look around, there's some people that did really well during the pandemic. And some people didn't. And sometimes you got to look and try to learn what did they do different, like the restaurants that went to carry out or delivery, they did pretty well, and people kind of stuck to their old, you know, you don't end up being Sears or, you know, some of these people that just didn't pivot. But you will have those downtimes. You just got to keep a positive attitude.
I think you market, you he does love people. And so he's out there when it's not up, then he's out there supporting those folks that he's with. And then they're the ones that came knocking on his door about Choose Tallahassee because of how much he supported everybody else.
And actually, in a way, Choose Tallahassee came out of Walking Across Main. You go, how do you connect those two together? Well, people had read about it. There's someone that was on a board of a company that I was with many years ago. And I recommend being out there as much as you can. Walk to a service club, do some volunteering. The more people you get out and know them by name and have connected with, the easier your life will be no matter what. And it's again, you're talking about giving. It's giving yourself to other people. Like I said earlier, listening to their story, connecting with them, and being sincere in how you do it. If you do that, I can promise you life will be much easier.
Any other questions?
And hopefully, am I answering the questions? Am I helping?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And I have business cards, and Robert's going to send out the thing with the 10 habits to everyone. That'll be available. And you can call me or email or ask questions. Or sometime we could have a session. They have mentor out here. There's a lot of resources here at Dummy. So I highly recommend that you come around here and tap on those resources.
Well, thank you, Greg. We truly appreciate you taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be here with us tonight. We would not be able to do events like this without our sponsors. For tonight's event, we had Jim Moran College as well as JH Creative who helped support it, and then Domi, of course, providing the space. So we thank you very much. We could not do this without your support. Greg will be here for a little bit after to answer any additional questions, as well as we have food and beer. Feel free to indulge. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next one at the end of April, which will be a pitch event for product and service-based businesses. So we're really excited to be putting that together. We'll have about $20,000 plus of prizes for the winners of that pitch event. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful night.